All right, so we are talking today about planning and
Um,
preparation. Nothing too fancy, I guess, but from a perspective of somebody that wants to open a restaurant or a
yeah,
business. But for our sakes, like if you're a chef wanting to own your own location, what was initially in your brain to kind of start it?
yeah. I think the biggest thing is one, you have to conceptualize the idea in the restaurant, and then two, the first thing you have to do is work on the funding. Like, how are you going to get this restaurant funded? And
Hmm.
just from personal, just from personal experience, it's really important. Banks do not like to lend on restaurants. It's just too.
Yeah.
It's very volatile. But I will say the thing is like if you have some assets the bridge. So whether you have a car or a house or real estate or any type of other business, um, you know, that's probably your best bet. But I think it's really important to try to get some investors or working capital to open the restaurant. So that's kind of the first step is like creating the business plan, the idea. And then I can't stress enough, please, for the love of all things holy, do your comp set, do your demographic. It is so important. I was
We will get
I
to
was
comp
looking
set
at
in a
the deck
second.
that yeah, I was looking at the deck that I proposed before I moved to Hamilton, and it's like really easy. So, what's a comp set? So, a comp set is basically you look at your location where you want to open the restaurant, and then what's really important is you look at all the restaurants in that area, and then you do a competitive set, which is
Yeah.
basically you take, I literally I called and I said, hey, I was like, about how much covers do you do a day? And then I look at the menu, and then I'm backing into the numbers that way, so you can get the average price per entree and what the spend is. You can get a good
Hmm.
estimate. And then you look at hours of operation, and it's funny because like we just, Ember is about to round out a year, and we are just shy of what I like proposed the restaurant was going to.
Oh
And I just
well.
think it's super important that like, hey, you have to use your best judgment, right? Because like we barely hit a mil, I would say, and
Hmm.
I proposed 1.2 mil. And
Yeah.
the thing is like we would have been close if like we didn't have so many rock. Like I'll be honest, like I consider like our start May. That's when we really started to get our bearings under us. But
Yeah.
we officially opened in March, so at the end of this month. But I will say, I think the really important thing is like the barrier to entry for restaurant is kind of low. It's just you have to have the money, and you also have to have the space.
Hmm.
And before you even start to do any of that, make sure you have your concept locked in and your business plan locked in.
So I was saying like mostly for like concept wise, how do you go about like deciding on what that is? So like specifically for me, right? I just do soups and ramen kind of. So it was kind of easy transition to what I want to do. But like I'm fully locked on to that anyway. But for you specifically for like or for anyone that's kind of thinking of what they do, let's say they're only good at sandwiches or they're really passionate about pizza or something. Do you think they should prioritize that or maybe branch out into something completely like standardized?
I think it's really up to the user. It really depends. You don't even have to be a chef to open a restaurant, right? And I
Correct,
think
correct.
I will say this. I think, and I'm just going to shoot straight. I think quick service applications are way more profitable.
Yeah.
They require less overhead, and it's a better way to get your foot in the door. And trust me when I tell you, like pairing my Ember to Grano, it's like night and day. And it's like
Yeah.
unfortunately, I hate to say it, but like Grano is going to be super successful, and it's very popular, and it's always
Hmm.
full, and it's just the numbers tick. We set it up right. With Ember, it's very very special occasion, very anniversary, and it's our demise, but it's also where you go to have experiences. But I will say the overhead at Ember is way more costly. It's a fine dining restaurant.
Yeah.
You have a better wine list. You have higher trained staff. You also have more staff. You have more prep. You also have, a nicer dining room. You have
Hmm.
nicer kitchen equipment, and so it's just, what I recommend for anybody getting into the restaurant business. Doesn't matter really what you do. You have to be to pivot anyway. Like if I said I
Yeah.
want to open a sandwich shop, like good example. Like if I say I want to open up a sandwich shop, this is going to be like Jersey Mike's but better.
Yeah.
Whatever to pivot. Like if it doesn't work for that demographic, you'll know within the first year.
Yeah.
And so it's just really important that you're ready to go for the green. Don't go for the dream. Okay. That's my word of advice.
I was just gonna say, like, when you went
Go ahead.
for the Grano, Did you guys like specifically wanted Italian cuisine to be open over there?
Yeah, when I walked into that restaurant, I was like, it would be awesome if we did an Italian restaurant here. Already been here for a year, and I'm like, this place needs an Italian restaurant. So it's a perfect market fit because there's no other Italian restaurants in, 45 minutes to an hour.
That's what I was about
And
to
the
ask.
reality is, and I hate to say this, but pizza and pasta have high profit margin. You know what I mean?
Always.
Like I'm importing my flour from Italy, but and the thing is that I pay $80 for a bag, but
Hmm.
the reality is people will pay anywhere from $16 to $24 for a pizza. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? That costs
easily.
$1 to $2, $3 maybe. You can't say the same about steak. Protein's so expensive. I think also when it comes to pasta, you're only protein on the pasta. Whereas like if you're getting an entree, you have to put 6 to 7, right?
Hmm.
And ideally, for a stuffed pasta, you can get anywhere from, it's all about value, right? And it's like, I love that. I think the big should have been of Italian that door. Unfortunately, before it was called the filling station, and it was kind of like a casual, kind of like dive bar, so to
Hmm.
speak, that had beers on tap. And the problem was it just wasn't ran right, and so it ended up failing because the previous owner pretty much just they passed it off to their kid. The kid was a drug addict, alcoholic, couldn't get his stuff together, and so the restaurant ended up tanking, right? And so it's like I truly believe that if you're trust me when I tell you, go for a second generation restaurant.
Yeah.
Don't go brand new build unless you already have some restaurants under your belt. Where like good example, and I'll say this: Grano is a second generation restaurant. That means it was a restaurant before I took it over.
Yeah.
So the rebuild wasn't as pricey as it was for Ember because it already had the hood system installed. It had plumbing, had a 3-comp sink, had a dishwashing setup. You know what I mean? Had the electricity to fuel a restaurant. Whereas Ember, we did from the bottom, right, from the
Hmm.
ground up. And when you have a second generation restaurant, you're able to save a lot more money on capital expenses to get your foot in the door. And I think it's just super important. Look for a restaurant that right. Restaurants don't sell for that much, right? You can get a restaurant, guaranteed. It doesn't matter, even if it's in a city. You can get a
Hmm.
restaurant for under $500,000 because the highest profit, well, the profit that in a restaurant is so slim sometimes to some operators where you base the value of the business off of pretty much 3 months of profit, right? So it's
Yeah.
kind of like if you're profitable for let's say you make $100,000 in gross sales and 25 grand each month is profit. Your business is valued at 75 grand.
Hmm.
That's kind of what it is, right? So it's like, now I will admit, if you own the real estate, it makes it a lot easier. But I think for anybody who's trying to get into a restaurant like right away, like let's say if you hate your job and you want to start a restaurant, I would recommend a food truck like ASAP.
Yeah. Yeah.
Listen, I
Food
hate
truck
to
would be
say it,
nice.
but the barrier to entry is super low. Like honestly, now that I have 2 brick and mortars, I'm seriously contemplating on turning Bullseye into into a food truck situation, right? Like
Yeah.
where it's smash patties, and we just like we just grow from there. We start with one truck, and we just not truck, but I'd rather have a. I think when you have the engine attached to the kitchen, it just causes
Yeah.
problems, and so I'd
Well,
rather have a
usually.
truck and then a trailer attached to the truck where we can also use it for catering as well. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So like I don't know about you, but offsite catering I love, but I also hate it because you have to break everything down, break it back down, and then put it away. And it's just like
Yeah.
if you had a food trailer that you could just have and turn on right away to go do some offsite catering, it makes it beneficial.
Yeah. No,
And
I was
so
about to say because like usually, so I know a lot of food truck owners because I do that stuff anyway during the summer and stuff, and they're mentioning because I was talking about expenses. Like obviously their location will really warrant how much money they're going to generate, but also like if something goes wrong because they're not necessarily trailers, they're just trucks. So let's say their engine is like kaput that day, bro. They just lost like a full day or maybe a couple of days. So would I think a trailer
yeah,
would be a little better, but like how I
yeah.
know you're like in the main city, essentially where you are at. How would you think it would fare if you were in a different location? Let's say like suburb ish.
Here's what I will say though. I think if I were to go that route, and this is just me, I've never owned a food truck, I've never owned a food trailer, but this is what I would do. I would have the trailer built or find a food trailer that has a hitch on it, right? So like
Mm-hmm.
not a hitch, but a connection for a hitch. And I would focus on the trailer being super nice, probably because you can build a brand new one for 50 G's, 50.
Yeah, easy.
And then I would lease the truck under the business. I would lease a truck to pull the trailer. And just like you said, the reality is like if the engine goes bad in the truck, then you lose everything. You lose the generator, you use the propane, you lose everything.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? And so it's like you need a generator anyway, right? Because I would want to run it off a generator. If you have the truck, that's completely separate from the trailer.
Yeah.
And it's like, the biggest thing is like I would use social media, to leverage and I would only open up 4 days a week, 3 days. Oh, okay, we're back. And I would go to the busiest spot, wherever it is, and I would let everybody know where I'm going, right? Like I think the best there's a couple food truck guys that have been really, really popular. And I'm telling you right now, like they schedule their staff to like, good example, look at Shihan at Flavor Hive,
Yeah.
Dude, he's crushing it, man. They got 8 food trucks. They have one food truck supporting another one. They have a long the door, but they do such a good job with social media and marketing and, hiring and training their staff. And their model is super simple. It's a bowl. You know what I mean? Like it's
Correct.
nothing crazy. And they do that chip thing where, you bring your bag of chips and you get, you fill it up. Dude, it's genius. It's amazing. Now, I will say, the same, like another thing is like, for me, I would also keep it super simple. It's either a smash burger chicken concept, nothing crazy. Like you prep everything in the commissary kitchen and then you cook on the trailer, you finish plating or whatever the case may be. But I would drive everything around social media, right? So I would say, okay, we're going to be in this location at 5 next Friday, and then I would be pushing hard to get a line and have everybody line up. You cook for 4 hours and you know what I'm saying? Like, and that's kind of like the goal. Cause like if you can make $2 to $3 grand, just in that time period, you have enough to pay everybody and also make a little profit and, put some money in the bank. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm more in the smaller realm because I do tent and table is what my business usually for the summer. If I can generate like 1,000 outside, happy day for me. Happy day. But obviously, it's not always the same. It's not always I should say like because you're competing essentially with like other food trucks because usually it's typically 8 to 10 also food trucks per location. It just depends how big the town is or whatever. But it gets rough out in the streets. Plus, like you also have to think about like the fees for the town. Whoever's like managing it, you also have to pay that into account of your food. So, what were some of the unexpected challenges, as I should say, when you were opening Grano or Ember currently?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is just like there's so many unforeseen situations that absolutely can tank a restaurant. I'm just really grateful that my partners are understanding. And the thing is like I'll be on, opening. I don't know if I would ever open a restaurant in a small town again, just for the sheer fact of the demographic. I'm sorry. 2 restaurants in the same town. Sorry, not I wouldn't open a restaurant same, but 2 restaurants across the street from each other that are competing for business. And one of the things that was super challenging. You got 2 P&Ls, you got 2 businesses fighting. So it's super important. And I'm actually going to make a couple videos on this that we're going to separate. You know what I'm saying? Because unfortunately, in this small town, people think Grano is the fine dining restaurant, right? And the Ember's just way out of their league. You know what I mean? Like just way out of their league. And so, we purposely make the restaurant loud. We do roll-ups, right? We have linen, but we do roll-ups. We laminate the menus. We slow down we remove steps of service, like casual, but it's the fine dining restaurant. Like the prices aren't high, but it's the perception, right? So people see anywhere from $16 to $25. And they're like, oh my God, this is expensive. And I'm like, actually, no, it's not. It's very, very affordable.
Priced well. Yeah.
And Ember is expensive, and but it's a good. We use local food, and we do our best to try to show value. But I will say, I think the biggest thing that, just my soul was trying to do both at the same time. That's just stupid. And I would never do that again. And so good for everybody that doesn't know, we opened Ember in March. We opened Ember in March 2024, up Grano in August 2024. And I made the biggest mistake by trying to do too much. And, really what I will say and what I've learned is do something right, figure out what the identity of the first restaurant is, give it a year, year and a half, 2 years to figure out the identity. You want to make sure the restaurant is profitable and cash flowing properly. You have to go through a full calendar year to make those calls, man. And it's just like, a good example is like we're asked backwards with Ember during the winter, right? Because, everybody has Grano to go to, so they go. And like, all the is, it really, really hurt us as a restaurant. You know what I'm saying? Where we're in the negative. That was super difficult, right? So I have 2 restaurants that are I have full staff that we have to take care of. And the reality is if I could go back, I would have just focused on Ember for the first year and then pushed Grano to this year. I would have pushed Grano to opening up in January, right? Or opening up in February or opening up in March, because Grano is, it takes every ounce of your being. If you think you can open a restaurant and not be there, you're lying to yourself.
Oh yeah.
You're going to be in it.
Lies,
and also,
bro.
Yeah, it's lies. And also I will say that it's super important to staff correctly. I've opened these restaurants without a SOM manager, without my wife answers the phone. Like we've been super scrappy, but we're still over leveraged because the sales aren't there in small towns,
Correct.
Right? You're either in like without butts and seats, you're missing cash flow. And so I think what's really important is really, really focusing on getting one restaurant up and profitable, and then you work on your second location. And also, I would not do them across the street from each other.
I mean, I can kind of take away from it because like I'm the only person in my shop too. So I have to, I don't want to necessarily like play scrappy, but like just in terms of the actual funds, because I can't sit down people, and that's the main turn away for my business. Everything's for to-go model, essentially. So I'm trying to like build awareness of the fact my ramen travels amazing. You will have almost similarly of the same experience from the takeout bowl. Please try my food. So that's kind of like over like the past almost 3 years now. That's what I've been trying to tell people. But like hopefully on the 4th year, I'll have the actual seats so I can put butts in them. And then like the experience will be even more incremental than before. So I understand the whole scrappy part altogether. But
did you work on the brick and mortar place, or did that fall through?
Oh no. So I haven't. It's still there. I'm gonna try to talk to them by August. I want to say.
Okay, gotcha.
So my plan is
do yourself a favor. Don't buy a hood.
No, I'm not.
Don't do it, bro.
I'm not doing hoods.
Freaking electric all the way.
It's gonna be all
the
electrics.
way, bro. All electric, man. Get a nice little exhaust fan, dude. It's fine.
It's just gonna be an exhaust fan.
Yeah,
bro. If you think about it, it's like ramen, right? It's just boiling water, and every once in a while, like I sear stuff, aka blowtorch. That's it. Literally, that's 95% of my business. I don't need a hood. Absolutely don't. So everything will be electric.
Don't do it, because then you got to deal with the fire marshal. Then you got to deal with the gas. You got to deal with so much more. And it's like I hate to say it, but like these hood systems, man, we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. And it's not, you don't get the return on investment. Like I hate to, in Ember we have a really good hood system, but like we use inductions a lot of the times. You know what I'm saying? And it's absolutely like at Grano. I'm so glad we didn't put a kitchen on the garde manger side. We just have inductions if somebody wants to cook something over there.
Yeah.
But the reality is like, I would be opening up a kitchen with the lowest amount of capital required, and then invest over time, over time, because like that's the thing. Like with a ramen shop, you don't need that much square footage, but, hey, actually, I was going to say, Casey, have you even considered, owner.com?
Owner.com. I don't think I know that one.
Okay. I got to hook you up with,
I'll put it on my list. Owner.com.
So listen, it's $500 a month, but what they do is they specialize in optimizing to-go food. Like you have your own they a different screen, and what they do is they build your website. They also and demographics to really target people. They start a royalty program. And they pay for themselves. If they don't, then it's for free. Well, okay, maybe that was my deal, but I don't know if they do that. But they pay they pay for themselves, and they have a really crazy track record. And I think it may be worth it, since you're just to go. It may be worth it, man.
No, 100%. I'm always over looking for more avenues to kind of go through the stuff.
Well, considering you only have one, I would double down on with when I did the cloud kitchen. The only thing I couldn't wrap my head around was paying DoorDash and Uber Eats the royalty, man.
Correct.
That's just, bro, that shit just gets me, man. It really does, because it's, you have to make a decision. Like when I did the numbers, it was more efficient for me, because I'm in a small town, to hire a driver to do delivery. You know what I'm saying? And it was just but the reality is, it's just you're not. People don't understand this. When you pay employees, you also have to pay taxes, and you have to pay workman's comp, and you have to pay. You pay their half of the taxes if they're a W-2 employee, and it's almost, you have to pay the freaking royalty just to make ends meet.
I guess I'll put it for you in this perspective. For my business specifically, I'm paying for SEO. That's all I need it for. I need eyeballs on my product, and people are literally like this. Where's my food? Like, what's the next food? And specifically DoorDash, Uber Eats. So if I can get eyeballs on there, and then eventually they call enough, so I can be like, hey, by the way, on my website, it's a slightly lower fee, and I can get to you also. And I don't have, the taxes are already included, much cheaper. It delivers to you just the same way. Use my website instead. If I can get that going, then it's a win for me, even though I'm paying 32%.
Yeah. Oh, so if they go through your, I got it. That's crazy, bro. How do you bake that into the cost, man? How do you do it?
I add $2 onto Uber and DoorDash. I think that's like a given for everyone else. So that brings me down to 27-ish.
Yeah.
But still a lot, bro. 27% is fucking disgusting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
I would love to be at 15.
And I'll be honest, some people don't care. So then what's your, if you don't mind talking about, what's your food costs? What's your food costs, and what's your COGS and labor, and your labor's, you pretty much bought yourself a job. So
yeah, labor is free. My current COGS right now with all the increases, 24%. So I'm still very low.
Yeah, that's good.
On my food costs.
So with your labor, so you're and you're with your rent and all that overhead. So for everybody that's out there, when you're doing a restaurant, when you're doing your business plan, it depends on what kind of concept you have or you're trying to plan for. But just think about this. Your prime costs, which is your food costs and your labor costs, you don't want it to exceed 60%. So just for back of the napkin, you want 30% food costs, 30% labor costs. That now labor includes it. Okay. Taxes, insurance, workman's comp, all that stuff. Right. And then also, you want 20% is your expenses, 20% is your expenses, your rent, your lease, your water, your all that. And then 20% profit is what you want to shoot for. Now, a lot of restaurants, 9%, but the only way you could really focus on that, and I try to tell people all the time, and it's kind of like what I'm currently dealing with now, is your 60%, make sure that shit's in line. It is so important. It's the variable cost. A lot of, and so what I will say is, it depends what type of restaurant you have. If you have a quick service restaurant, then obviously your food cost might be higher, but your labor's lower, right? Because you have lower skill and you have higher, things that already come in prepped. Now, if it's like Ember, your labor might be higher, but your food cost is lower, So it's like you really have to focus on what your model is. Now, I will be honest, and like I tell everybody, it's not a one size fits all, man. It never is, right? Good example, like what we're planning for next winter, because next winter, obviously our sales aren't there. Mm-hmm. So what I want to do is during our busy months is I want to build up enough inventory, enough preservation, enough everything, frozen goods, like all the things that we prep that we can store. So that way during the winter, we can roll with a 40% labor or 50%
correct,
even food lower costs, right? So the restaurant's still profitable, but it's not like a time stuff, because, we're only slow for 2 or 3 months out of the year. But this season we're going to be, we'll be busy, from day one. And so and so it's planning into those numbers. It's just really important that you have to know it's really, really hard in the first year. Trust me. Look, I got no hair left, but Like good example, like a lot of people don't know this, but I'm gonna start sharing on social media. Like, man, we are running on fumes in these restaurants, like
Yeah.
fumes. Like towards
Yeah.
the end of the month, I'm telling them, I'm like, don't order shit. Don't order a fucking thing.
Yeah.
Do not order anything.
Same.
I don't care. Run out. Doesn't matter because people don't understand. And I feel bad for some people that dine on, the end of the month. We do the best we can. But like good example, I told my chef, don't buy any steaks. We're
Yeah.
gonna use this. We're gonna use the braised we have. We're gonna unfortunately, when people come for their anniversary or their birthday dinner, they want to order a ribeye. They want to order a New York steak, and it's like, I get it, but also I'm trying to keep the restaurant alive. You know what I'm saying? And what people don't understand, what I'm talking about, everybody, is, let's say, all right, February 27th, I go order $2,000 worth of ribeyes, right? You know what that does? Yeah, it's in my inventory and I haven't sold it yet, but towards the end of the month, that will throw off my food cost because
big time.
Inventory does not help cash flow. Yeah. And so it's a decision to not freaking order it and just wait until the first of the month, because then the first of the month, then you can order, right? Like, dude, Grano didn't have any basil. And I'm like, hey, straight up, I'm like, all I need to order is, I just need basil. I had no basil, it's turning black. And I'm like, shoot. So I'm telling Ember, I'm like, hey, if you're going to place a produce order, freaking just order me a couple bunches of basil to get me through the weekend. But like towards the end of the month, we'll run out of wine. We will run out of menu items. And it's just super important. Like a lot of people don't understand this. You need to close out the month profitable. Like the bottom, you don't want to be in the line. It is what it is. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, that being said, that's my TED Talks. If you guys have any other questions about running a restaurant, starting a restaurant, you're interested in a food truck, food trailer, listen, all questions welcome. I don't gatekeep over here. I think it's super important. Yeah, I think it's super important, man. We need to,
very important.
It's up for me and you, Casey, to sustainable for the next generation.
So questions, comments, concerns, let us know down below. And then we have a few more topics to discuss. But yeah, that's all we got for today. And peace out.